The courtroom fell silent as Kody Brown took the stand, the man whose name was once equated with love, togetherness, and religion standing before the same women who had addressed him as husband. The eyes of each wife burned with a varying story: betrayal, heartache, revenge, and in the silence, the truth sounded clearer than any gavel. But as the judge leaned forward and whispered, "You may proceed," no one had any idea how far down these secrets were going to lead this family. The courtroom atmosphere is charged with tension, heavy enough to taste. The wood panels against the paneling glow with an unforgiving glare from fluorescent lights above, and every whisper sounds like thunder. It's day one of the trial. Brown versus Brown, the case that will unzip all of America's most notorious family's secret shame. Kody is seated at the defense table, jaw set, hands crossed so focused it's bordering on robotic. His golden ringlets are drawn back, streaked with gray, a man fatigued by secrets, not age. The wives sit across from him, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, their attorneys beside them, and Robin, single, her face expressionless. The bailiff calls for silence. The judge, severe, calm, almost motherly, addresses the court, outlining the case: financial misconduct, mental cruelty, and the tricky interplay of money, children, and desire that trimmed this family down to a television show and transformed it into a hell of jurisprudence. No cameras come inside, but the world outside hums with gossip. Everybody wants to know how the sister wives' fantasy dissolved so thoroughly. Christine is the first to testify. She enters with shaking hands but unflinching eyes. As soon as she fixes her eyes on Kody, it's like 10 years of suffering pass before her eyes. "I didn't leave due to jealousy," she whispers. "I left because I stopped being seen." Her voice cracks just a little, enough that even the stenographer freezes. The courtroom actually listens as Christine recounts the slow dissolution of her marriage. The late nights, the unspoken favoritism, the feeling of becoming invisible in a home built on equality. She describes being left with table scraps of attention while Kody drifted deeper and deeper into Robin's world. And when it feels like her heart can't take any more, she drops the first bombshell, a hidden fact about money that ties it all together. Christine reveals that she discovered records of Kody pulling family money into a private account under Robin's name, without sharing it with the other family members. The courtroom gasps. Cody's lawyer jumps up to object, but the damage is done. The judge allows it into record. Suddenly, what seemed to be a family downfall begins to look suspiciously like a willful betrayal. The camera eye homes in on Cody's face, that tightly controlled mask slowly starting to crack. He mutters something to his lawyer, but his eyes dart Robin's direction, where she sits stock still, tears welling but not falling. Christine keeps her voice steady now, as if something inside her has finally learned how to break free. "We were assured that we would be equal wives. We built our lives on the foundation of that." But equality was gone the moment Robin entered the courtroom. A whispered excitement traverses the courtroom. Reporters scribble down notes. The crowd shifts, the tension mounts. You can almost feel the walls closing in on Kody, and he is small for the first time, the face of a trapped man caught by his own lie. Christine is cross-examined by the defense, pounding on her feelings, intimating jealousy and bitterness, but Christine doesn't move. She admits pain, yes, but not bitterness. "I want the truth only, because our children have a right to know what actually happened." That statement lingers like smoke. The judge adjourns to recess. Kody rises slowly, stiffly, as if each eye in the room is heavy on him. He looks at Christine, maybe to say something, but she passes by him without a look. The corridor outside is its own battlefield. Journalists yelling, cameras snapping, and Janelle muttering something acidic to her attorney. The wives cluster briefly by the courthouse door. They are together for the first time, not as sister wives, but as survivors of the same hurricane. Meanwhile, Robin remains in the background, quiet, holding her phone. When she finally does step outside, she glances over at Kody across the crowd, lips shivering as she whispers, "You promised me they'd never find out." Kody clenches his jaw, but doesn't speak. The action later that night moves to a vacant hotel room. Christine sits at the window, city lights shining under her, clutching a picture of all the wives together. Smiles sincere, the dreams still holy. Her tears fall silently on the glass. A knock at the door. It's Janelle. She slips inside quietly, face pale, exhausted, but determined. "They called me next," she says softly. Christine nods. There's a long silence between them, heavy with memories of shared laughter, shared pain, and the weight of loyalty lost. "You're not alone," Christine whispers. "We can't be afraid anymore." And that's when Janelle reveals something even Christine didn't know, that she's found proof of more hidden accounts, ones linked to the family's property holdings. It's no longer just emotional betrayal, it's fraud. Back in court the following morning, the atmosphere is charged. Kody's defense has changed tack, characterizing the wives as vengeful, emotional, unstable. But Janelle's tranquil demeanor shatters that one. She lays out the documents, spreadsheets, wire transfers, receipts for payment to shell companies. Her voice does not tremble. She does not require anger. Truth is louder. Robin's attorney objects, but the judge rules against it. The lawyers of the wives smile faintly. The case is building steam. Kody sits stiff, attempting to regain command, but the court's eyes are no longer on his side. With each word out of Janelle's mouth, his formerly towering reputation crumbles. It's in this moment the viewer senses it, the gradual shift of power, the wives taking back their voices after all the years of silence. Then Robin rises. Everyone looks. Her voice is thin, shaky, but underneath it's something raw, guilt. "I didn't know," she persists. "Kody said it was for the protection of the family." The courtroom falls silent once more. Christine looks at her, trying to see truth, but Robin can't look at her. The judge requests clarification, and Robin admits signing documents at Kody's behest, relying on his word. She never inquired as to their purpose, but asked whether she ever laid eyes on the money again. She whispers, "No." The words ring out like confessional bells. Suddenly, it's not only one man on trial, it's the fantasy of their whole shared life. The courtroom hearing concludes in chaos. Journalists scrambling to get stories filed, the wives departing in tears and resolve. Kody leaves amidst the flash of cameras, his reputation disintegrating before the public eye. The proud patriarch of Your now resembles a man desperate for excuses. Christine observes him at a distance, her face inscrutable, not triumph, not revenge, but something more fundamental. Closure, perhaps, or the distant hope that truth will at last give her wings to fly. As they leave, the voice of the narrator comes in once more, even but ominous. In every family founded on deceit, the truth eventually comes to court. The courtroom's colder on the second day, as though the truth drained all warmth out of the air. The current wives sit quietly, the faces pinched and weary, as Kody sits at the defense table in a blue suit, his gaze locked on the vacant witness chair. Everyone waits for the next person to be called. The judge appears, serene but imposing, and the gavel's ring is like a heartbeat. The court will now call Robin Brown to the stand. A hum spreads through the crowd. Christine leans forward just a little, Janelle folds her arms, and Mary won't even look up. Robin's shuffling to the stand slowly with a tissue, her footsteps tentative, almost reluctant. She's sworn in, voice shaking, and then her attorney takes over. "Mrs. Brown, did you knowingly participate in any of the financial dealings carried out by your husband, Kody Brown?" The courtroom is silent. Robin shakes her head. "No." She whispers, "I didn't know what I was signing. I thought it was for the family trust." The prosecutor's eyes narrow. "And when you signed those documents, did you ask any questions?" Robin bites her lower lip. "I wanted to, but he told me it was complicated, that I wouldn't understand." Christine's eyes close, and for an instant the power of those words drowns the room. Kody fidgets uncomfortably, glancing at Robin as though begging her in silence to shut up, but it's already too late. The dam has burst. Robin's voice is resolute now, on the brink of desperation. "I believed him. I believed him. I always trusted him. I thought we were protecting our family. But then I started noticing the money gone, the stacks of cash. I asked him where it was coming from, and he said to me, 'Trust me, Robin, this is bigger than us.' And this is where the audience leans in, because now we're not just talking about betrayal, we're talking about something dark that Robin might not even know is happening. The prosecutor sets a new file in front of her, labeled Exhibit C. Inside it are bank statements, transactions traced to overseas accounts, and a list of business names, all traceable back to Cody's identification information. Robin gasps when she's one of the company names, Spirit and Unity Holdings. Her hands fly to her mouth. Uh, that's, that's what he told me was the name for our book deal, she stutters. The prosecutor glances grimly. It's where $500,000 of family money were wired in money last year. The courtroom is filled with whispers until the judge bangs the gavel again. Cody's attorney attempts to interrupt, but even he appears shaken. The walls close in on Kody as the charges mount. Robin's testimony continues, her tears streaming now. He told me I shouldn't say anything to the others. He told them they'd ruin it, that Christine was jealous, that Janelle didn't receive business, that Mary would talk to the press. I did believe him because I did want to. She cries hysterically now, her voice breaking. Christine looks away, unable to stand it. Janelle's face becomes stern. Mary closes her mouth, fighting back tears. And for a brief instant, the viewers agonize with Robin, the preferred wife, as she is termed, who might have been another pawn on the board. The defense hammers away at her, attempting to make her admit she had something to gain from the transfers, new house, new car, new lifestyle. But Robin only shakes her head through tears. If only I could turn back the clock. She says, I'd burn it all just to get us back together. The judge calls a brief recess. The wives group by the hallway, reporters shouting questions at their backs. Christine finally speaks to Robin. You had a choice, she says. So did we. You selected him. Robin wipes away a tear on her face, her voice trembling. I chose what I thought was love. That is a blow to Christine's stomach. The tension between them crackles, the years of anger and hurt seething beneath the surface. Before Christine can speak, however, Janelle breaks in, phone clutched in her hand. You two need to hear this, she tells them. On her phone is a leaked audio clip, Kody talking, screaming at his financial advisor. They'll never see it coming, he says to her on the tape. They think that this is about family, but family is only the show. This is about survival. Christine's hand goes to her mouth. Robin recoils. The tape cuts there, but it is enough. Evidence of intent. Evidence that it all, their unity, even their faith, might have been a facade for something else. This is the moment that turns the whole tone of the trial on its head. The moment when betrayal is something virtually criminal. When court resumes, the prosecution plays the audio file aloud. The courtroom falls silent. Every word stabs like a knife. Kody goes pale, and for once, he is afraid. His attorney tries to phrase it as taken out of context, but it does not matter. The judge allows it to stand as testimony. Wives sit and scowl at Kody, each struggling with what they just heard in her own way. Christine's hurt, Janelle's outrage, Mary's quiet loss, Robin's guilt. The prosecutor proceeds. Mr. Brown, would you care to explain what you meant by that tape? Kody pauses. His voice, speaking, is low, defensive. That was a business negotiation. Things were unraveling. I was attempting to salvage what we built. Christine can't help it. She mutters under her breath, You mean what you built, on our backs. The judge orders her to be quiet, but the damage is already done. The courtroom now sees the truth not in black and white, but in fiercely human and tragic terms, a tapestry of love, greed, religion, and betrayal. And just as the suspense is about to resolve, the next bomb, a surprise witness. The bailiff moves forward, stating, the court calls Leon Brown to the stand. The air is quiet. Cody's eyes become wide. Leon, his son with Mary, steps forward, serene but visibly hurt. Their presence changes everything. They're not here to accuse or defend, they're here to tell their truth. The judge asks if they're ready, and Leon nods. I thought I was raised believing that my father was the embodiment of love and leadership, but the truth that I witnessed behind the camera wasn't love. It was control, fear, silence. The courtroom is captivated by Leon's words as he describes the pressure, the favoritism, the manipulation behind the family's sanitized image. We were told to smile, to say that we were happy. But we lived in a house divided by power and jealousy. Mary quietly weeps as Leon continues, his hands shaking. Kody is torn asunder, but something glints in his eyes, pride hurt by revelation, not guilt, not sadness, but disclosure. Dad taught me one thing, Leon says firmly. Loyalty equaled obedience. And when you no longer complied, you no longer were loved. The courtroom is silent. Even the judge seems moved. Christine wipes away tears. Janelle stares at the floor. Robin lowers her head. And Kody looks over at Leon with something akin to regret. Too late. The truth has already found its mark. This testimony does not just destroy Kody's alibi, it humanizes the pain of every person seated in that room. The prosecutor finishes by questioning Leon with one final thing. If you had one thing you would say to your dad today, what would you say? Leon stops and then pins Kody with a piercing glare. I forgive you, but I don't trust you. Those words slice the silence like lightning. Mary is sobbing hysterically now. The judge calls another recess, but no one rises. Too much emotional baggage. Even the bailiff's voice cracks when he calls the recess. In the hallway outside the courthouse building, the reporters erupt. Brown family implodes. Kids turn against Kody. Headlines own the headlines, while inside, the family takes fractured space in the same hallway, separated not by geography, but by decades of lies. Christine does finally reach Leon, holding them close. You were courageous, she breathes. Janelle nods silently, Robin seems lost, and Mary refuses to stop crying. Kody stands in the background, alone, people walking by as though he doesn't exist. The man who once juggled 4 wives and 18 children now stands alone, the master builder of his own downfall. As evening falls over the courtroom and the lights go down, the voice of the narrator returns to us, quiet now but charged with tension. In every story of truth, there is a moment when silence shatters. But for the Browns, shattering the silence would tear apart what's remaining. The courtroom is more buzzed than ever on day 3. Reporters occupy every bench, whispers spread like static, and tension hums in the air, as if the walls themselves are waiting for the next secret to fall. Kody looks visibly drained, dark circles around his eyes, a man ensnared by the collapse of his empire. The wives sit again together, not yet friends, but bound by circumstance. A mutual understanding that whatever lies ahead may rewrite everything they think they know. The judge enters, stern and commanding, and the shock of the gavel rings out for silence. The court will now hear its next witness. The bailiff begins. Mr. David Maxwell. A collective gasp fills the courtroom. David Maxwell, the Browns' former financial advisor, the guy who would appear in the background shots on the show, counseling the Browns about how to handle their ever-expanding business endeavors. He walks up to the stand with quiet confidence, his very presence causing Kody to leap in his seat. David nods, adjusts his tie, and gives the wives a side eye before turning to address the prosecutor. Mr. Maxwell, the attorney begins, you worked for the Brown family for 7 years. Can you describe the extent of your duties? David's head shakes slowly, tone flat but shot through with something heavy. I handled the family's shared accounts, TV money, business revenue, and trust funds for the kids. My job was to keep everyone open. The prosecutor's second question gets a sledgehammer reaction. And was there transparency? David inhales deeply. First, yes. But everything changed when Kody and Robin set up a new holding account, something called Spirit and Unity Holdings. It was presented to me as a publishing account, but I noticed suspicious activity. Large transfers, routine withdrawals, overseas movements. When I objected, I was told to shut up. Kody's lawyer stands up immediately. Objection, hearsay. But the judge will not be deterred. Overruled. Continue, Mr. Maxwell. The courtroom is hushed as David talks, his voice cutting through the quiet like glass. I talked to Kody in private, he goes on. He told me the family didn't need to know the details. There'd be too many opinions. I said it could look like fraud, and he said, Then make it not look like fraud. Gasps erupt from the gallery. Gasps erupt from the gallery. Christine goes white. Janelle grips her pen so tightly her knuckles whiten, and Robin sticks her hands in her mouth, moaning, "Oh my God." And just when the air can't get any thicker, David delivers another bombshell. One of the accounts was used for something other than business, spent on personal luxuries, cars, vacations, private retreats, even gifts unbudgeted. The prosecutor lays down a photo of a luxury villa in Arizona, purchased under Spirit and Unity Holdings. "Did the family know about this property?" she asks. David shakes his head. "No, it was never reported, and the payment trail leads directly to Kody's personal signature." The courtroom erupts again, the judge's gavel slamming repeatedly. Kody finally snaps, standing up. "You're lying." He cries out, his voice cracking with fury. The judge instructs him to sit down, and gradually he does, panting. But that outburst has already undone him, a flash of shame too raw to be hidden. David does not blink. "I stand to lose nothing by this," he answers softly. "I was faithful. I subscribed to the family creed. But when you watched that message turn into a lie, what was I to do?" The prosecutor smiles back, and the defense continues its cross. Kody's lawyer tries to discredit David as a disgruntled former employee who was let go for incompetence, but David calmly produces an email chain, timestamps, digital signatures, directives from Kody himself. The courtroom watches as each word on those pages tightens the noose. Send money. Do not share with other parties. Classify as publishing expenses. Kody buries his face in his hands. Robin silently cries. Christine looks at the evidence appalled, whispering all those times he lied to us about being broke. The reality slices deep, economically, yes, but psychologically as well. The realization that love was traded for control. The audience senses the transition, that heart-stopping moment when all the lies at last add up, and the betrayal is too crushing to avoid. The prosecution subpoenas Christine to return to the stand. She testifies that during those years, the family sat around talking about money shortfalls, children's school fees paid late, homes sold on a tight deadline, trips canceled. He explained to us that the network payments were in arrears. She spits out, "Even I sold jewelry to pay bills." The judge nods, visibly moved. Janelle goes on softly, "We were all earning money, little businesses, selling online, whatever we could do to help out. But the more we earned, the less we got to see." The pain in the room is overpowering. Even Mary, who has been silent throughout most of the trial, finally says something from the place where she sits. "He made us believe the fight was God's test, but maybe the real test was how much truth we could endure." There is silence in the courtroom for a moment. Even Kody's lawyer looks uncomfortable. And then, in a shocking turn of events, the defense requests a recess, and out in the hallway, pandemonium erupts. Cameras pop, reporters swarm en masse, and Twitter erupts with conspiracy theories. Kody's secret empire. Kody's secret empire. The family is stalked no more. The family is stalked no more. In the hallway, Kody corners Robin, his face twisted with fury. "You said nothing, did you? You didn't reveal all to them." Robin's head nods up and down as she shivers. "I didn't have to," she says. "They already knew." And that one sentence, gentle, fragile, but unyielding, is what hurts Kody the most of all. The years of dominance have at last slipped through his fingers. Later in the evening, the wives gather in an off-set hotel conference room, not to applaud, but to regain their breath. Christine collapsed onto the floor, resting against the wall, exhausted. Janelle navigates, constantly having her phone ring with media calls. Mary stares at herself in the window pane, whispering, "We were a story once. Now we're evidence." Robin tiptoes in, unsure, her eyes red from crying. The tension between them is acrid. Christine breaks the silence. "You knew more than you said in court," she says. Robin speaks quietly. "I did. I was afraid. He threatened me that if I told anyone, he'd ruin us, that no one would ever believe me." Janelle's voice breaks with rage. "And you believed him more than us." Robin doesn't respond. She simply takes out her phone and opens an email, One from Kody, sent 3 years previously. It states, "Keep this between us." They wouldn't know how to keep this family alive. Attached is a PDF of bank instructions, the same instructions David Maxwell testified about. Christine glares at the screen, then at Robin. "You could have prevented this," she says softly. Robin nods, tears streaming down her face. "I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right." The women fall into silence again, their shared grief heavier than anger. Now, they've all lost something: trust, faith, identity. Outside the window, flashes from paparazzi cameras flicker like lightning. Back in the courtroom the next morning, the mood is somber but electric. The prosecution brings one last witness for the day, a forensic accountant. Charts and ledgers cover the screens. Dates, transfers, amounts. Each number another nail in the coffin. The accountant speaks of how the accounts were concealed by layers of shell companies, several of which were under pseudonyms associated with Kody's former business associates. The trail is irrefutable. The wives look at each other. This is no longer a family case. It's crime country. Kody remains immobile, pallid face, twitching fingers. When the prosecutor queries whether he'd like to reply, he nods slowly. For the first time, the man who dominated all the stories, every home rule, every choice, is speechless. In that second, the quiet is thundering, the din of a kingdom crumbling, and not so much as a word is spoken. The judge adjourns for the day early, mentioning the emotional toll on everyone. The reporters scramble out, headlines already in the making. Within, the wives sit for many minutes after adjournment, looking at the vacant witness stand. Christine finally speaks softly. "He built this family on faith, but perhaps faith without truth was another deception." Janelle's head bobs in agreement. "Tomorrow's his turn. He'll have to talk." As they exit, the imagination camera lingers on the courtroom, the papers strewn about, the chairs askew, the specter of a family legacy suspended in the dust and quiet. Outdoors, Kody stands isolately by his vehicle, holding the steering wheel as if clinging to the final shred of control. In the mirror of the window, his own eyes look back, haunted, desperate, human. He grumbles to himself, they don't know the whole story. But he knows better. Deep down inside, he knows the world has already had its fill. And as the darkness closes in, a narrator's voice comes back once more, low and measured. "The truth is like water. You might dam it, divert it, or bury it, but somehow, someway, it breaks through." At dawn on the fourth day, it comes gray and heavy, a morning that seems as if the world itself is breathing quietly. Outside the courthouse, a tempest simmers both up in the clouds and down in the chaos below. Cameras snapping, voices crossing, every news outlet desperate for a peek of Kody Brown's comeuppance. Within, the wives are mute, no longer whispering or exchanging glances. The fatigue has hardened within them now, its traces etched on their faces. Christine gazes at the shiny floor. Janelle mindlessly flips through her notes. Mary clutches a crumpled tissue, and Robin sits isolated, red eyes puffy from another restless night. The bailiff thunders in, calling the judge's appearance. All rise. Standing, the door creaks at the back and Kody Brown enters. For the first time in this trial, he appears to be shattered, not merely fatigued, but emptied. His suit jacket rides his shoulders loosely, his hair is disheveled, and his eyes flash with something that the world has seldom witnessed in him: terror. The judge nods, and Kody sits at the witness stand. The atmosphere shifts immediately. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for. The prosecutor doesn't delay. "Mr. Brown, do you understand you're sworn?" "Yes," says Kody, his voice low. "You're aware that perjury under oath is a federal offense?" "I know." There is a silence, the kind that causes the viewer to lean forward, that raises tension like thunder on the brink of breaking. "Mr. Brown," the prosecutor begins, "did you know about the offshore accounts linked to Spirit and Unity Holdings?" Kody hard swallows, glancing over at his lawyer, who gives a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. "Yes," Kody grudgingly concedes. A gasp of shock ripples through the courtroom. "Did you authorize those transfers?" "I did." "Without informing your wives?" Kody hesitates, then answers softly, I did what I felt was in the best interest of the family. The prosecutor inches forward. Mr. Brown, do you really believe that lying, hiding money, and playing games with trust was in your family's best interest? Cody's voice turns belligerent. You think this family was easy to keep together? You think any man could manage 4 wives, 18 children, a TV network on his back, and the world watching his every move? They don't have a clue what it took to keep this family alive. He glares at Christine, then Robin, then Mary and Janelle. The courtroom is still, the atmosphere tense. Christine's tears are not of sadness, but anger. Alive, she says to herself. You call what we were experiencing living. And that's when the feeling breaks like a wave, raw and uncontainable, as Kody begins to defend it all, breaking apart before them. He speaks at great length and at great volume of sacrifice, of pressure, of being misunderstood. I bore it all. He pounds his chest. When everything collapsed, who was the world blaming? Me. When the money ran out, who worked night and night to fix it? Me. You all are discussing betrayal, and none of you ever bothered to ask me how it made me feel, to be the one holding everything together while you tore it apart. The prosecutor lets him keep talking, watching him closely, then says, so secretly hiding $500,000 was your way of holding things together. Kody tightens his jaw. That money was insurance, for emergencies, for when the cameras weren't rolling. I knew someday this show was going to end, and I wasn't going to let us fall apart. The judge leans forward. Mr. Brown, you did worsen. Brown, you did worsen. Cody's lips tremble, and at last, the mask actually breaks. I didn't mean to lose them, he whimpers. The wives look at one another, small, hurt, full of history. Christine wipes her eyes, remembering the nights she cried in secret while Kody was on the road. Mary hides her face, remembering all those years she begged to be loved and got excuses instead. Janelle clenches her jaw, her hurt masked by resolve. Robin quietly cries. The prosecutor walks deliberately. Mr. Brown, did you ever love them both equally? The words crash like thunder. Cody's silence is thunderous. Did you? The prosecutor's desperate question. Kody leans forward ever so slightly. I tried, he whispers. But love is never equal. Not when you give everything and they still hate you. Christine springs to her feet. Christine springs to her feet. You didn't give everything, Kody. You took everything. The judge bangs the gavel down, calling for order, but the words have already hit their mark. Cody's face twists, anger, guilt, and sorrow. He looks at Christine, eyes brimming. I loved you, he cracks. You left me. Christine's voice trembles, but she stands firm. I left because I had to survive you. The entire courtroom feels it, that charged silence that accompanies a truth that everyone refuses to accept but knows exists. The prosecutor regains composure, turning once more to Kody. Mr. Brown, did you know your actions led to state law tax evasion and fraud? Kody looks stunned, as if just now realizing fully what he'd done. I didn't mean for it to go that far. But it did, the prosecutor states flatly. And now, your wives, your children, they're the ones who are paying for it. Cody's shoulders slump, and the proud father of once thriving family of 20 stands like a man who has lost his identity. The judge calls for a recess, and the courtroom gasps. In the hall, pandemonium. Cameras, queries, tears. Christine storms off toward the stairs, Janelle close behind. Robin straggles behind, her eyes cast down. Mary, breaking monotony, walks over to Kody. You remember what you told me? She asks softly. You told me I was too broken to love. Maybe you were just too broken up to even see love in the first place. She turns and disappears from view, leaving Kody alone under the bright fluorescent lights, the ring of the courthouse echoing in his ears. He rubs his temples, muttering, they'll never get it. But he knows that they do. He knows that they do. He knows that they've felt it. The next shot is of a later that evening. A storm rages outside, thunder crashing across the desert horizon. By the window of her hotel room, Christine sits and watches lightning flash over the hills. She talks quietly, to herself as much as to anyone. I expected that telling the truth would be like freedom, but it's like mourning. Janelle sits beside him, nodding, because we're burying what we used to believe in. Robin enters quietly, holding a folder. There's more, she says to him. Contents include receipts of charity donations in the family name, money never received by those charities. Christine's heart drops. He even used charity money. Undefined. Robin nods. It's all here. He referred to it as a PR move. Janelle slams her hand on the table. He built an empire out of deceit, and we helped him. The women realize this isn't about family anymore, it's about accountability, and if they're brave enough to make it through the end of it. Undefined, the next morning, they arrive in court ready. The hearing is adjourned by the judge, and he summons the session again, and this time the lawyer of the wives produces Robin's folder as new evidence. Undefined, the face of Kody pales when he sees it. Undefined, the prosecutor begins reading from the files. Bogus donations, falsified signatures, words of goodwill that were never said. Kody hangs his head, repeating, "That wasn't supposed to come out." The courtroom erupts. The judge calls for order again, but it's too late. The picture-perfect family photo that once graced screens across the country is irreparably broken. Christine closes her eyes, tears of sorrow and relief streaming down her face. Robin quietly cries, murmuring apologies into the air. Janelle sits quietly, looking at Kody with the icy detachment of a woman who finally stopped believing in his redemption. Mary does not even glance at him. The judge lets out a deep breath. "Mr. Brown," she says, "this court does not exist to punish your marital failures, but it does exist to hear about your citizen activity. You have committed a crime. You've lost your trust, and now you have to live with it." The line falls like a final gavel. Kody acquiesces slowly, no longer arguing, no longer begging, just accepting. His softly uttered words echo across the silent courtroom. "I thought I was saving us," he says, "but maybe I was only saving myself." The wives exchange a glance, a mixture of agony and quiet triumph. They didn't win a fight, they survived one. And as the judge adjourns abruptly for sentencing to begin tomorrow, the courtroom empties in stunned silence. Outside, reporters dash again, microphones thrust forward, yells of questions. But Christine, Janelle, Mary, and Robin walk silently past them. They don't owe anyone a headline anymore. The only tale left to be told is their own healing. As day gives way and the storm outside dissipates, the narrator's voice returns, softer now, reflective but strained with emotion. When truth reveals itself, it doesn't heal immediately. It burns first, it burns what cannot survive it. But only after the fire has run its course is it that you understand what it is that's worth saving. Morning spreads over Flagstaff with an unwholesome stillness, the kind that promises something irrevocable. The courthouse looms as a monument to truth, tall and gray against the bruised blue. Today is the day sentences are handed down, but there's a subtle tension in the air, and unvoiced. Now, they've all lost something: trust, faith, identity. Outside the window, flashes from paparazzi cameras flicker like lightning. Back in the courtroom the next morning, the mood is somber but electric. The prosecution brings one last witness for the day, a forensic accountant. Charts and ledgers cover the screens. Dates, transfers, amounts. Each number another nail in the coffin. The accountant speaks of how the accounts were concealed by layers of shell companies, several of which were under pseudonyms associated with Kody's former business associates. The trail is irrefutable. The wives look at each other. This is no longer a family case. It's crime country. Kody remains immobile, pallid face, twitching fingers. When the prosecutor queries whether he'd like to reply, he nods slowly. For the first time, the man who dominated all the stories, every home rule, every choice, is speechless. In that second, the quiet is thundering, the din of a kingdom crumbling, and not so much as a word is spoken. The judge adjourns for the day early, mentioning the emotional toll on everyone. The reporters scramble out, headlines already in the making. Within, the wives sit for many minutes after adjournment, looking at the vacant witness stand. Christine finally speaks softly. He built this family on faith, but perhaps faith without truth was another deception. Janelle's head bobs in agreement. Tomorrow's his turn. He'll have to talk. As they exit, the imagination camera lingers on the courtroom, the papers strewn about, the chairs askew, the specter of a family legacy suspended in the dust and quiet. Outdoors, Kody stands isolately by his vehicle, holding the steering wheel as if clinging to the final shred of control. In the mirror of the window, his own eyes look back, haunted, desperate, human. He grumbles to himself, they don't know the whole story. But he knows better. Deep down inside, he knows the world has already had its fill. And as the darkness closes in, a narrator's voice comes back once more, low and measured. The truth is like water. You might dam it, divert it, or bury it, but somehow, someway, it breaks through. At dawn on the fourth day, it comes gray and heavy, a morning that seems as if the world itself is breathing quietly. Outside the courthouse, a tempest simmers both up in the clouds and down in the chaos below. Cameras snapping, voices crossing, every news outlet desperate for a peek of Kody Brown's comeuppance. Within, the wives are mute, no longer whispering or exchanging glances. The fatigue has hardened within them now, its traces etched on their faces. Christine gazes at the shiny floor. Janelle mindlessly flips through her notes. Mary clutches a crumpled tissue, and Robin sits isolated, red eyes puffy from another restless night. The bailiff thunders in, calling the judge's appearance. All rise. Standing, the door creaks at the back, and Kody Brown enters. For the first time in this trial, he appears to be shattered, not merely fatigued, but emptied. His suit jacket rides his shoulders loosely, his hair is disheveled, and his eyes flash with something that the world has seldom witnessed in him: terror. The judge nods, and Kody sits at the witness stand. The atmosphere shifts immediately. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for. The prosecutor doesn't delay. "Mr. Brown, do you understand you're sworn?" "Yes," says Kody, his voice low. "You're aware that perjury under oath is a federal offense?" "I know." There is a silence, the kind that causes the viewer to lean forward, that raises tension like thunder on the brink of breaking. "Mr. Brown," the prosecutor begins, "did you know about the offshore accounts linked to Spirit and Unity Holdings?" Kody hard swallows, glancing over at his lawyer, who gives a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. "Yes," Kody grudgingly concedes. A gasp of shock ripples through the courtroom. "Did you authorize those transfers?" "I did." "Without informing your wives?" Kody hesitates, then answers softly, "I did what I felt was in the best interest of the family." The prosecutor inches forward. "Mr. Brown, do you really believe that lying, hiding money, and playing games with trust was in your family's best interest?" Cody's voice turns belligerent. "You think this family was easy to keep together? You think any man could manage 4 wives, 18 children, a TV network on his back, and the world watching his every move? They don't have a clue what it took to keep this family alive." He glares at Christine, then Robin, then Mary and Janelle. The courtroom is still, the atmosphere tense. Christine's tears are not of sadness, but anger. "Alive," she says to herself. "You call what we were experiencing living." And that's when the feeling breaks like a wave, raw and uncontainable, as Kody begins to defend it all, breaking apart before them. He speaks at great length and at great volume of sacrifice, of pressure, of being misunderstood. "I bore it all," he pounds his chest. "When everything collapsed, who was the world blaming? Me. When the money ran out, who worked night and night to fix it? Me. You all are discussing betrayal, and none of you ever bothered to ask me how it made me feel, to be the one holding everything together while you tore it apart." The prosecutor lets him keep talking, watching him closely, then says, "So secretly hiding $500,000 was your way of holding things together." Kody tightens his jaw. That money was insurance, for emergencies, for when the cameras weren't rolling. "I knew someday this show was going to end, and I wasn't going to let us fall apart." The judge leans forward. "Mr. Brown, you did worsen. Brown, you did worsen." Cody's lips tremble, and at last, the mask actually breaks. I didn't mean to lose them, he whimpers. The wives look at one another, small, hurt, full of history. Christine wipes her eyes, remembering the nights she cried in secret while Kody was on the road. Mary hides her face, remembering all those years she begged to be loved and got excuses instead. Janelle clenches her jaw, her hurt masked by resolve. Robin quietly cries. The prosecutor walks deliberately. Mr. Brown, did you ever love them both equally? The words crash like thunder. Cody's silence is thunderous. Did you? The prosecutor's desperate question. Kody leans forward ever so slightly. I tried, he whispers. But love is never equal. Not when you give everything and they still hate you. Christine springs to her feet. Christine springs to her feet. You didn't give everything, Kody. You took everything. The judge bangs the gavel down, calling for order, but the words have already hit their mark. Cody's face twists, anger, guilt, and sorrow. He looks at Christine, eyes brimming. I loved you, he cracks. You left me. Christine's voice trembles, but she stands firm. I left because I had to survive you. The entire courtroom feels it, that charged silence that accompanies a truth that everyone refuses to accept but knows exists. The prosecutor regains composure, turning once more to Kody. Mr. Brown, did you know your actions led to state law tax evasion and fraud? Kody looks stunned, as if just now realizing fully what he'd done. I didn't mean for it to go that far. But it did, the prosecutor states flatly. And now, your wives, your children, they're the ones who are paying for it. Cody's shoulders slump and the proud father of once thriving family of 20 stands like a man who has lost his identity. The judge calls for a recess and the courtroom gasps. In the hall, pandemonium. Cameras, queries, tears. Christine storms off toward the stairs, Janelle close behind. Robin straggles behind, her eyes cast down. Mary, breaking monotony, walks over to Kody. You remember what you told me? She asks softly. You told me I was too broken to love. Maybe you were just too broken up to even see love in the first place. She turns and disappears from view, leaving Kody alone under the bright fluorescent lights, the ring of the courthouse echoing in his ears. He rubs his temples, muttering, they'll never get it. But he knows that they do. He knows that they do. He knows that they've felt it. The next shot is of a later that evening. A storm rages outside, thunder crashing across the desert horizon. By the window of her hotel room, Christine sits and watches lightning flash over the hills. She talks quietly, to herself as much as to anyone. I expected that telling the truth would be like freedom, but it's like mourning. Janelle sits beside him, nodding, because we're burying what we used to believe in. Robin enters quietly, holding a folder. There's more, she says to him. Contents include receipts of charity donations in the family name, money never received by those charities. Christine's heart drops. He even used charity money. Undefined. Robin nods. It's all here. He referred to it as a PR move. Janelle slams her hand on the table. He built an empire out of deceit, and we helped him. The women realize this isn't about family anymore, it's about accountability, and if they're brave enough to make it through the end of it. Undefined, the next morning, they arrive in court ready. The hearing is adjourned by the judge, and he summons the session again, and this time the lawyer of the wives produces Robin's folder as new evidence. Undefined. The face of Kody pales when he sees it. Undefined. The prosecutor begins reading from the files. Bogus donations, falsified signatures, words of goodwill that were never said. Kody hangs his head, repeating, that wasn't supposed to come out. The courtroom erupts. The judge calls for order again, but it's too late. The picture-perfect family photo that once graced screens across the country is irreparably broken. Christine closes her eyes, tears of sorrow and relief streaming down her face. Robin quietly cries, murmuring apologies into the air. Janelle sits quietly, looking at Kody with the icy detachment of a woman who finally stopped believing in his redemption. Mary does not even glance at him. The judge lets out a deep breath. Mr. Brown, she says, this court does not exist to punish your marital failures. But it does exist to hear about your citizen activity. You have committed a crime. You've lost your trust, and now you have to live with it. The line falls like a final gavel. Kody acquiesces slowly, no longer arguing, no longer begging, just accepting. His softly uttered words echo across the silent courtroom. "I thought I was saving us," he says, "but maybe I was only saving myself." The wives exchange a glance, a mixture of agony and quiet triumph. They didn't win a fight, they survived one. And as the judge adjourns abruptly for sentencing to begin tomorrow, the courtroom empties in stunned silence. Outside, reporters dash again, microphones thrust forward, yells of questions. But Christine, Janelle, Mary, and Robin walk silently past them. They don't owe anyone a headline anymore. The only tale left to be told is their own healing. As day gives way and the storm outside dissipates, the narrator's voice returns, softer now, reflective but strained with emotion. When truth reveals itself, it doesn't heal immediately. It burns first, it burns what cannot survive it. But only after the fire has run its course is it that you understand what it is that's worth saving. Morning spreads over Flagstaff with an unwholesome stillness, the kind that promises something irrevocable. The courthouse looms as a monument to truth, tall and gray against the bruised blue. Today is the day sentences are handed down, but there's a subtle tension in the air, an unvoiced whisper that something else is coming. Inside, Christine, Janelle, Mary, and Robin sit together side by side, not bound by love but by shared scars. Kody sits at the defense table, eyes fixed on the empty witness stand. His lawyer leans in close, a whisper in his ear. "There's been a new development. Someone requested to testify." Cody's brow wrinkles. "Who?" The courtroom doors creak as they swing open and gasps ripple through the gallery. It's Logan, Cody's eldest son. The wives whip round, shock flashing across their faces. He walks into the room with purposive strides, his jaw clenched, his eyes burning with quiet conviction. "Your Honor," the prosecutor goes on, "Logan Brown has come to provide additional testimony regarding the money dealings and family prosperity in the years in question." Kody stands up. No, he doesn't belong here, but the judge waves him down. He's been subpoenaed. He'll testify. Logan takes a seat, adjusting the microphone. His firm voice with the shaking edges fills the air. "I didn't want to be here," he begins, "but I can't stay quiet anymore. My siblings deserve the truth." He looks directly at his father. "There's no ignoring this. Dad, this has nothing to do with money. It's what you did to us, to all of us." Kody sets his jaw, but the fear gleams in his eyes. Logan continues. "When the cameras weren't rolling, when the lights went off, you weren't showing up. You blamed Mom, you blamed the world, but you were never here. You called it leadership. We called it abandonment." The courtroom descends into complete silence. Christine bites back tears. Janelle drops her head. Robin gazes at Logan as if she's looking at her son for the first time in years. Mary wipes one tear from her face. It's not just testimony, it's 20 years of hidden pain clawing its way into the light. Logan rummages through his backpack and dumps a few papers on the stand. "These are bank statements for when I did family chores when I was a teenager. I was asked to sign withdrawal slips for you, Dad. You told me it was bills, but the money was going to an account I'd never seen before." The prosecutor grabs the papers, her eyes widening. "Mr. Brown, did you know your son was signing in your name?" Cody's face goes white. "He was helping. That's all." The prosecutor hammers. "Helping you perpetrate financial fraud." "No." Kody yells, slapping his hand on the table. The sound resounds like thunder. The judge brings up her gavel. "Order." But it is too late. Logan glances at him, his eyes glazed with heartbreak. "You always said to watch out for the family, even when it was about lying. I did it because I trusted you. But now I understand, keeping you safe was never equal to keeping us safe." Kody shakes his head. "You don't realize what it was like, Logan. The pressure, the media, the expectations, they wanted us to fail." Logan's voice is a shout. "Then why make us a part of the lie?" The ensuing silence is crushing. Even the air is heavy with everything that was left unsaid. The judge's silence is finally broken. Mr. Brown, it appears your actions weren't confined to your person. You placed your son in an illegal situation. Kody sits with his mouth agape but is mute. The weight of his choices finally gets to him. He sits, stone-faced. Christine glances over at him, crying again, but not for her union this time, for her children. The prosecutor returns to questioning Logan gently. Why now? Because my brothers and sisters are still frightened, he answers softly. They don't wish to despise him, but they can't keep on pretending he didn't do them harm. I couldn't either. He takes a deep breath. I'm tired of silence being the price of devotion. The words cut through the courtroom like glass, and for the very first time, the wives catch a glimpse of themselves in their youth in Logan's courage. The judge adjourns for a brief recess, and when the families come out, bedlam erupts in the corridor. News reporters mob them with questions, flashbulbs lighting up. Christine takes Logan's elbow. You didn't have to do this, sweetheart, she mutters. Logan looks at her with firm resolve. Mom, someone had to. Kody is a short distance away, flanked by his attorneys, but no one speaks to him. Robin takes a step back before moving toward him. Kody, she says softly, you must let go of denying the truth. He looks at her icily. Do you believe I'm the only one who lied? All of you built this picture. All of you smiled for the cameras. Robin's tears gather in her eyes. We smiled because we were scared of you. The words cut deeper than she expects. Kody's lips open, then close again. He turns and goes, his hand grasping the top of a bench as the only thing holding him in place. Back in the courtroom, the judge continues with the proceedings. Mr. Brown, she says, you have one opportunity to speak before sentencing. Do you wish to say something? Kody stands, his throat sore. Everything I've done for my family. Maybe I made mistakes. Okay, fine, I made a great many. But you have no idea what it is like to have your whole life laid out. Others judging you, twisting your love, your family into something hateful. His voice cracks. I was trying to hold us together. Perhaps I held on too tight. Christine suddenly pipes up, not wanting to be quiet. You didn't hold us together, Kody. You abducted us. The audience begins to stir. The judge brings her gavel down. Mrs. Brown, please. But the moment is lost now. Kody glances at her. You believe you're innocent. You all profited from the fame. You all knew the game. Christine's voice trembles but remains firm. We played it because we were assured we'd disintegrate without you. The tension tightens to the breaking point, all wounds, all hidden grievances finally blazing into open air. The judge breathes heavily. This isn't a therapy session, but it's clear that this family has cost more than dollars. She glances at the prosecutor. The court does find Kody Brown guilty of tax evasion, financial fraud, and coercion. The courtroom erupts in gasps. Sentencing will be handed down tomorrow morning. But before she can adjourn, a voice is heard from the back. Your Honor, may I speak? Everyone turns. It's Leon, Mary's son. They take a step forward with boldness. I wasn't on the list, but I need to say something. The judge recognizes the name and allows it. Leon speaks to their father, tension between them crackling with history. You always said we had to choose between family and truth. I'm choosing both. And the truth is, you never even saw us, not at all. You saw what we could do for your reputation, your legacy. But you never really knew who we were. Kody's face twists in emotion. That's not true. It is, Leon cuts in. You pushed people away because you couldn't manage them. And now you've lost control. You call it betrayal. But it's freedom, Dad. At last, the courtroom falls into a second stunned silence. Even the judge looks shaken. Christine, Robin, and Janelle weep silently. Mary shuts her eyes and prays for strength. Kody slumps his head, whispering, I just wanted to be loved. Leon gazes at him, tears filling his eyes. You just didn't know how to return it. The truth hits like a final blow, soft, suffocating, and freeing all at once. The judge adjourns court for the day. Outdoors, the sun pokes its head out behind the clouds, thin but stubborn. The wives depart separately, Christine and Janelle, Mary and Leon, Robin alone. Kody remains on the courthouse steps, surrounded by cameras but utterly alone. His lawyer speaks of an appeal, and Kody doesn't respond. He merely gazes out at the horizon, lost. Later that night, in Christine's hotel room, the wives gather again, exhausted but breathing. Tomorrow's sentencing, Janelle breathes. Do you think he'll ever realize what he did to us? Christine shakes her head. I don't think he ever wanted to know. He wanted control. Robin adds, barely above a whisper. Robin adds, barely above a whisper. I still pity him. Mary nods. So do I. But that doesn't excuse him from responsibility. The room falls silent, each woman in her own world. Christine finally speaks, her voice stern. Tomorrow is not the end of him. It's the start of us. And at that instant, something shifts. For the first time, the wives are not hostage to his shadow but to their shared courage to step into the light. The camera steps back, the storm outside clearing into serene dawn as the narrator's voice returns, low and resonant. When power is dismantled, it does not vanish, it returns to those who are silenced. And sometimes justice isn't punishment. It's about reclaiming your story. And as the screen fades to black, a final line lingers like a specter. But tomorrow's verdict will prove, even in freedom, love can be the hardest sentence of all. The courtroom is peculiarly still that morning, the atmosphere thick with anticipation and remembrance of what's been said. It's the final day, sentencing day, and everyone who's on the inside knows that the ruling won't just determine the destiny of Kody Brown, but will bring closure to a book the world has been watching for years. Blinding lights outside are like lightning, reporters whisper rumors, and on the inside, the wives wait together again, not as rivals, but as survivors. Christine's eyes are calm, Janelle's jaw is set, Mary's hands are clasped tightly in her lap, and Robin's gaze shifts between them all, uncertain, fragile. The judge enters, her robe rippling with authority, and the room rises. Please be seated, she says, her tone even, though the gravity of the moment weighs heavy in her words. Kody stands at the defense table, shoulders slumped but face still proud. He has the same black suit, but today it looks like too light armor for the battle he's lost. His attorney speaks something, perhaps his final appeal, but Kody remains quiet. His eyes drift to his family, and for a moment there is a glimmer of the man he once was, confident, charming, in control. Then the look slips from his face, replaced by exhausted fear. The judge clears her throat. Before I pronounce sentence, the court will receive any final words of the parties involved. The prosecutor nods. Your Honor, the state has no further comments, but the victims requested to be heard. The room shifts. The wives glance at each other, not knowing who should speak first. Then, to their surprise, Robin stands up. She steps forward, shaking but resolute, and speaks to the judge and Kody as well. I never could have imagined that I'd be here, she begins, her voice trembling but sincere. For years, I believed everything he said to me, that love is sacrifice, obedience is loyalty. I believed protecting him was protecting our family, but I see now that wasn't love. That was fear. Her voice breaks, and she sucks in air. I loved you, Kody. I really did. But you used that love to shut me up, and I'm done being silenced. The courtroom murmurs softly, the words suspended in the air like a whisper of truth finally laid bare. Every head in the room turns toward her, the tension pounding like a heartbeat. This is the revelation the audience didn't know it needed. Robin steps back, tears streaming down her face, and sits. Christine stands up second. When I left him, she says, striding slowly toward the front, people said I was selfish. They said I destroyed the family. But the thing is, the family was already broken. It just wasn't visible yet. She looks Kody dead in the eye, her eyes shining but unyielding. You took everything that was supposed to be sacred, love, faith, partnership, and you commodified it and sold it. You made us believe that hurting was fine. That silence was power. And when I finally had the strength to leave, You made me believe that I was doing something God would despise. Her voice breaks, but she keeps going. But God doesn't command us to stay in cages made of fear. He commands us to walk in truth. So that's what I'm doing right now, walking in truth. She speaks to the judge. Whatever. The ensuing silence is complete. Janelle stands up, her voice a contrast, quiet, but filled with quiet strength. Kody kept saying unity, that we were one body. You can't be one body if one of you gets to decide who can breathe. Her tone becomes firmer. I tried to find reconciliation, to preserve the center, but there was never a center. There was only him. She looks directly at Kody. I do not hate you. I just notice you for the very first time. And she sits, with only Mary left. The air is cold in the room as she stands, deliberately and slowly, and walks to the stand. You said to me, she whispers, I was too broken to be loved. I complicated everything. She fights back a sob. Only one thing you were right on, I was broken. Just not you, before you. After you. Just not you, before you. After you. Kody averts her gaze, can't even meet her eyes. Mary gasps for breath. You taught me that love is something that's earned. Something I had to accept every single drop of. But today I am not asking you. I don't need your love anymore. I at last found mine. She starts to leave the bench. Thank you. There is a stunned silence, dense, electric, the kind that makes you sense the world is turning. All the women, in their way, have taken back the power they once lost. The judge looks about the courtroom, her head slowly moving in approval. Thank you, ladies. Your voices have been heard. Mr. Brown, do you have anything to say before sentencing? Kody rises, grasping the podium like it's the only thing that's keeping him standing. His voice is raw, gentle, nearly pleading. I never meant for this to happen, he whispers. I never meant to hurt them. I believed that I was building something strong, a family that could withstand anything, but maybe I was merely trying to prove something to myself. He stops, eyes brimming with tears. I loved all of you, even when I didn't know how. Perhaps I was a bad husband. Perhaps I was a bad father. But I did love you. Christine's head shakes gently, cursing under her breath. Love without respect isn't love. The judge leans forward. Mr. Brown, the court appreciates the emotional and personal context of this case, but the law is clear. She begins reading from her notes. You have been found guilty of 3 charges of tax evasion, 2 charges of fraud, and 1 charge of coercive control, which has resulted in financial and emotional harm. The words echo through the courtroom like hammer blows. You are sentenced to 3 years of federal supervision, community restitution, and compulsory family counseling. A quiet gasp echoes through the gallery. No prison, but liberty neither. In addition, the judge continues, you are prohibited from managing or profiting from any such joint family accounts, public funds, or ancillary entertainment contracts. Kody's face falls, relief and shame in equal proportions. The gavel drops once, definitive, booming, non-reversible. The courtroom exhales, a collective letting go that has been accumulating for months. The wives sit, their faces streaked with tears of relief. Not joy, not triumph, mere release. Reporters hastily run outside to transmit headlines. Kody Brown sentenced, sister wives drama wraps up in court. But to the people in the room, it doesn't quite register as a conclusion. It's like an accounting. As the judge exits, the courtroom begins to empty out. Christine walks over to Kody again. You got what you wanted, she whispers. You're finally alone. He gazes at her, regret in his eyes. Was I really that terrible? She hesitates, looking him in the eye. No, she whispers. Too afraid to be good. And she goes, leaving him to silence. The instant lingers there, raw, last, and slightly tender. Because sometimes the hardest truth is that love can't fix what a person won't fix. Outside in the courtyard, the press arrive, microphones flashing like fireflies in the fading light of day. Christine has a brief statement, her tone firm. This wasn't revenge. It was about truth. about keeping the ones we love safe. Janelle goes on, families don't die in court. They perish when lies to deceive replace trust. Robin, crying, breathes quietly, and sometimes the truth costs you everything you ever believed you possessed. Mary merely nods, saying nothing, her silence more palpable than the largest of news headlines. The city grows quiet that night. Christine returns home to the small rented house, the desert stretching out into eternity beyond her window. She pours tea, sits close to the fire, and lets the burden of the years finally fall from her shoulders. Light for the first time in eternity, she is. Elsewhere in town, Janelle is on the phone with her children, laughter quiet but true, the tone of something being constructed. Robin parks her car in front of her house, staring at family pictures that haunt her now like specters. Mary writes in her journal by the candle's eerie light, hands shaking but steady, writing the words she never got the chance to speak aloud. Freedom doesn't mean forgetting. It is forgetting without looking back. And in his dark, vacant home, Kody sits alone in the dark, no wives, no followers. Only him, the one who so wanted to be everything and did nothing. He looks at a yellowed family photo, smiling faces, matched colors, the illusion of peace, and breathes softly, "What did I do?" The photograph does not respond. It never will. Because the truth of power is this: the instant you lose command, the only person left to face is yourself. Several days later, a news report announces that Kody has been sentenced into a restorative justice program, not for fame, not for the cameras, but at the behest of the court. Christine listens in silence as the anchor reads the headlines, then turns off the TV. "Let him learn," she speaks softly. We all had to. The screen falls dark once more as the voice of the narrator returns, serene but persuasive. Justice doesn't always come in handcuffs. Sometimes it comes in silence, in the spaces left behind after those who valued truth more than fear have moved through. And their healing starts. The final scene lingers on the courthouse steps, now empty, washed by the rain. The clang of the gavel recedes into the distance, replaced by the susurrus of the wind and the distant muffled laughter of children far away, a reminder that no matter what blackest trial, somehow life goes on. A week has passed since sentencing, but the ripples of the trial are yet far from subsiding. Instead, they are just beginning to touch the lives of those who lived it. The desert outside Flagstaff glows with the golden sun, but to the Browns, heat is a stranger. The cameras that dog them are gone, the headlines dwindled, but the quiet that fills the gap is far more revealing. Christine sits on her porch, staring out into the distance, her mind cycling between guilt and relief. "It's over," she mutters under her breath, but the words sound hollow. She thought that justice would bring peace, but what it's left her with is reflection, painful memories, and nagging questions. She opens her phone to messages from strangers telling her she's strong, inspirational, brave. But none of them have seen the nights she cried, the times she almost went back, the terror that perhaps, in some way, she still misses the man who destroyed her. She lays the phone down and lets the silence speak for itself. On the other side of town, Janelle gets into a coffee shop, browsing the muted hum of chatter. She's been seeing a therapist, trying to come to terms not only with Kody's manipulation, but with her own co-conspiratorship in keeping up the fantasy. "You stayed because you wanted to believe the best in him," her therapist had told her that morning. "That's not weakness, Janelle. That's hope abused." Those words reverberate now, repeating through her mind like a refrain she can't switch off. Because healing is not forgetting, it's confronting the pieces of yourself that let the pain happen. Meanwhile, Mary drives down the empty roads just outside of town, her fingers wrapped tightly around the steering wheel. For so long, she defined herself by her marriage, what she could do to be deserving of someone's attention. Now, she's trying to be deserving without the approval, loving without the expectation. The road lies out before her endlessly, and in a way, she's grateful. At least that means she's going somewhere. Her car radio gently plays, an old country song she and Kody would dance to at family gatherings. She almost turns it off, but she leaves it on. "Let the ghosts sing," she whispers, crying. "They can't hurt me anymore." In another part of town, Robin walks alone in the big house she once shared with Kody. The rooms are too quiet now, children's laughter reduced to echoes. She's been loading boxes, unsure if she's selling the house or staying. Every picture frame is agony, happy faces that no longer inhabit the same world. She picks up one of hers and Kody from the early days, when everything still seemed like fate. Love was meant to be sacrifice. She breathes, tracing her thumb across the glass. But skewed sacrifice isn't love, it's loss. The first storm after the trial has finally arrived outside, thunder growling in the distance. It looks right, as if the sky were lastly catching up with the emotion on the ground. And when rain begins to pour, Kody sits in the cramped community center downtown, where his mandatory family counseling program meets. His counselor, a calm, middle-aged woman with kind eyes, sits beside him, watching him carefully. "You've been quiet since we started," she says gently. "What are you thinking?" Kody slumps back, arms crossed, looking up at the ceiling. "That they all hate me," he growls. "That's what I'm thinking." "Do you think you deserve their forgiveness?" He hesitates. "I don't know. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought if I led strong enough, they'd follow. I didn't know I was pushing them away." The therapist nods. Control oftentimes takes the form of protection until it suffocates the people we love. Kody exhales, a gasping, trembling breath that sounds like half a century of pride ripped asunder. "How do you fix something after you've already lost everyone?" he asks. The therapist looks at him kindly. "You don't fix them. You heal yourself." For once, Kody does not argue. He just sits in the silence, and the truth creeps into the crevices of his denial. That night, rain continues to fall, and Christine throws a little party. At her home, just her, Janelle, and Mary. Robin was invited, but she never responded. The atmosphere is creepy, awkward at first, but gentle in its own way. The women have tea, share subdued smiles, and talk about the children. The subject comes around to him finally. "Do you think he'll ever change?" Janelle coaxes softly. Christine stirs her tea, thinking, "Maybe. But not for us. He'd have to want it himself." Mary breathes out. "I used to think that if he apologized, things would be okay. But now I don't even know what okay looks like." Rain pounds on the panes, a soft rumble that fills the silence between them. Christine smiles weakly. Maybe right is just being comfortable with not knowing at all. They all fall silent, the burden of her words heavy but healing. And for the first time, they laugh, low, genuine laughter. Not the performance or camera-directed kind, but the kind that comes from shared agony at last softening. Robin sits alone on her porch, watching the same storm Christine is seeing from miles away. She opens her phone, looking at a draft of a message to Kody that she is too afraid to send. "I forgive you, but I can't come back." She deletes it, then re-TYPS it, then deletes it. Eventually, she just types, "I hope you find peace," and sends it. On the other side of town, Kody's phone buzzes. He reads the message deliberately, his throat tightening. He types a reply, "Thank you for everything." Then he stops, erases it, and sets the phone face down. The next morning, the desert air is again pristine, the rain of the previous night having washed clean what was previously there. Christine wakes early, steps out barefoot, and lets the sun dry her face. She has but one photograph, and in it stands the family, everyone, years ago. She stands there for a long time, staring at it, then says, "Thank you for the lessons," and lets the wind take it. The photo dances in the air and settles in the dirt, blown away on the wind, a symbol, a last. It's only then that healing finally begins, not with an apology, but with an acceptance. That week, a producer from a network contacts Christine, asking if she wants to be on a new show, one about life after polygamy. She thinks about it for days before deciding. When she does get back to him, she tells him, "If we're going to tell it, it has to be real this time. No filters, no scripts, just truth." The producer agrees, and Christine feels purpose for the first time, rather than pain. She calls Janelle. "You in?" Janelle chuckles quietly. "Only if we get to name it." Christine grins. "How about rebuilt?" "Perfect," says Janelle. Across town, Mary starts leading a women's support group, helping others survive emotional abuse and self-esteem. Soft-spoken but fierce, her voice is firm with the authority of experience and empathy. Robin, quieter yet, starts volunteering at a city shelter, helping single mothers find stable homes. Her redemption, perhaps, but also her atonement. And Kody. He continues with his sessions, sometimes angry, sometimes brooding, sometimes crying. One evening, the therapist questions him, "What is there one thing you would want them to know?" He scowls at the ground for what seems like an eternity, then whispers barely above a whisper, "I wish they knew I love them the best that I knew how." The therapist returns to him gently with kindness in her voice, "Then learn a better way. It's never too late to love differently." One evening, Kody gets into his car and drives out to a ridge overlooking the desert. The sun dips low, painting the sky in red and gold. For the first time in years, he feels something close to humility. He closes his eyes and whispers, "I'm sorry," not to anyone specific, but to everyone. The wind carries it away, indifferent yet freeing. Meanwhile, Christine, sitting on her porch miles away, feels the same wind brush her cheek. For a moment, she smiles and closes her eyes, not because everything worked out, but because she's finally free of needing it to. Healing is not loud. It doesn't have applaud. It comes in whispers, in the silence after the storm, when the past no longer feels like a prison and begins to become a lesson. Months later, the women meet again, not for court, not for cameras, but for supper. The table is abuzz with laughter, food, and memories. They laugh about their children, their dreams, their future. Mary raises a glass in a toast to freedom disguised as endings, and they all lift their glasses, smiling through tears. Robin shows up late, nervous but hugged. There are no accusations, no bitterness, only compassion. The past does not vanish, but it is no longer their own. With every bite, the picture melts into the warm glow of candle fire, and the reader's voice resumes, deep and reflective. Families aren't bound together by perfection. They're bound together by the courage to begin anew. And sometimes, beginning anew means departing. Outside the doors, the desert wind hums a soft melody, carrying the scent of rain and promise. The story begun in control will end now in choice, and though they all have scars, the scars no longer burn. They glow. Months have elapsed since the Browns' last dinner. That fragile, slender evening when forgiveness had not come as words, but as a silence that no longer hurt, and now the world has overturned, or at least seems to. The courthouse, where the resounding echoes of their own wars used to resound, now stands empty, its walls still holding the ghost of testimonies and tears that once splashed on the headlines. But for the Browns, the Rayall story continues beyond the verdict, beyond the lights and cameras, in the humble fight of establishing who they are independent of the family that defined them. Christine rises before dawn most mornings now, a result of years of chaos. The quiet is different, not alone, but peaceful. Her new series, Rebuilt, debuts in a week, and although she promised not to care about ratings, a part of her still worries. The network calls it raw and fearless, but she knows what it really is: messy, human, truthful. She regards the camera crew gathering on her porch for a publicity interview and smiles weakly. "You ready?" the producer inquires. Christine nods. "Let's tell the truth." The camera starts rolling, and she talks not as a victim, but as a survivor, a woman who used to believe that surviving was loving, and now understands that love never needs coming at the cost of losing yourself. Her voice trembles only once, when she speaks the words, "I used to think freedom meant leaving. But freedom's really about staying true to the person you become afterward." The words cut deeper than she expects. Because sometimes the greatest redemption isn't defending yourself against someone, but in finally believing you deserve peace. Meanwhile, Janelle runs a tiny counseling center she helped finance with her own savings, a modest setup for women with messy relationships. It's not flashy, not filed away, but whenever someone leaves with a smile on her face, she knows the story did not end, it went on. Christine calls her one afternoon. "You still good for next week's interview?" Janelle smiles. "As long as they don't make me cry again." No promises, Christine teases. They love that emotional angle. "Yeah, well, they should try living it." The two women laugh softly, their friendship stronger now than ever. A sisterhood forged not through one man's vision, but through shared survival. On the other side of town, Mary's Inn has become something of a sanctuary. She redecorated it with desert flowers and pictures from her travels. People walk through, but some nod to her and say, "Aren't you on that show?" She smiles graciously and says, "Not anymore." But in private, she does not mind the association anymore. It's a part of the book that defined her, not the whole tale. She writes in her journal one late evening, "I waited years to be picked. Now I pick myself every day, and that's love too." Because closure isn't necessarily handed to people. Sometimes it's the determination to just stop seeking what broke you. Robin has shone the spotlight. She's kept the house, set one room up as a studio where she makes abstract smears of desert skies. She hardly ever picks up calls from the press, and when fans ask if she regrets staying with Kody longer than the others, she consistently tells them, "Regret serves no purpose. What you gain afterwards is more important, and what she has gained is knowledge of how to be alone without ever being empty." Her children stop by regularly, laughing and painting with her, and when they want to see their dad, she simply smiles and says, "He's trying." That is all she ever does, because sometimes mercy is giving a person a chance to change without you watching. Kody, however, has changed in ways nobody could have envisioned. He sold the sprawling family house, downsized to a city apartment, and started volunteering at a neighborhood youth center, instructing young men in emotional intelligence and healthy leadership. Some say he's doing it for image repair work. Others spit he's finally been humbled. But those who encounter him observe something else, a man learning to listen more than he talks. During one of the sessions, a teenager asks him, "You ever hurt someone you loved?" Kody swallows and answers, "Yes, many. And I learned that love without respect is just control." The boy nods. "Did they forgive you?" Kody smiles dreamily. "Maybe someday, but I learned to forgive myself first." Because true responsibility isn't a performance, it's a daily practice, particularly when nobody's looking. One silent afternoon, destiny, or maybe recovery brings them back together. Not in court, not on television, but at a festival in the community where Christine's performance has been invited for its impact. Christine stands at the microphone, her voice steady, her eyes aglow under the lights. This is not a story of suffering. She tells the audience about what follows pain, rebuilding, rediscovering, refusing to lose hope. Amid the rising applause, she glimpses Kody standing at the back of the room. No entourage, no entourage, no cameras. For a moment, their eyes connect, not with anger, but something gentler. Respect, compassion. What passes between them doesn't erase the past, but it feels smaller now than it does. After the ceremony, Kody approaches. "You spoke beautifully," he tells her softly. Christine smiles, faintly nods. "You look calmer." He chuckles. "Trying to be." A moment of silence, a long but not uncomfortable one. "You deserve good things, Kody," she tells him and means it. He draws a breath. "So do you." They part company, no tearful embrace, no weeping, just the quiet ending, the kind that is true. Outside, Christine and Janelle stand near the car, both smiling. "Was that weird?" "A little," Christine admits, laughing. "Good weird." "Healing weird," Janelle quips. The two women drive off into the golden Arizona sunset, the same sky that witnessed their turmoil now witnessing them peaceful. Robin toils late into the evening painting, the gentle piano music filling the air. She glances at her phone, sees a missed call from Kody and smiles, not out of longing, but peace. She sends him a message, "Keep going. You're doing fine." Mary closes her in for the evening, lighting a candle before bed. The flame is swaying gently, and she's speaking softly to herself, "We made it through it all." The air outside hums with desert stillness, the kind infused with memory and renewal. Because sometimes the greatest finales aren't dramatic. They're gentle, like peace where there was once hurt. Christine's show is a whispered phenomenon after weeks pass by, not tabloidy, but real. Women from everywhere send letters of gratitude to her for saying what they could not. "You made me think escape was possible," one of them writes. "You made me think that healing was possible," another says. Christine reads them all, sometimes crying, but always in thanks. Undefined, the last day of shooting the first season. The crew finishes with hugs and applause. As the cameras are turned off, Christine gazes directly into the camera and utters her final line. If you're watching this and you feel trapped, remember, you're not the story they tell about you. Undefined. Be the story you choose next. The screen goes dark. Obsolete. Months later, the family members reunite again, not for war, but for a fresh start. This time, it's for the wedding of one of their daughters. They all come separately but dine together. The tension that had characterized them now replaced by something vulnerable yet optimistic. During the dance of father and daughter, Kody makes away with tears. He looks in the direction of the women, Christine, Janelle, Mary, Robin, and they smile back, small but real. It's not a reunion. It's reconciliation through love for their children. When the night descends, Christine stands under the stars, her lungs full of the cold air. Undefined. Kody walks past her, bends his head, and thanks her, thank you, for not cutting me out of their lives. She acknowledges him in response. Undefined. Thank you for finally getting it. They go off in opposite directions, but both with lighter steps. Unsplash. The music falls into silence again. The laughter becomes a fading sound in the distance, and the desert blackness settles once more into its endless hum. Because in the end, closure isn't a door slamming shut. It's a window opening quietly to a softer tomorrow. Undefined. As the narrator's voice returns one final time, it feels like a confession and a benediction. They were never just a family torn apart by faith or fame. Undefined. They were people flawed, hopeful, trying. And maybe that's all any of us ever are. Tales still unfolding, even after the final credits. The camera moves over the empty desert road, the horizon with colors of sunrise. Erling, Kody, new day begins at Misterand. As the screen fades to black, the last words echo quietly. In the end, love didn't save them, but it taught them how to save themselves.